Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the Town of Cedar Lake Board of Zoning Appeals public hearing of April 11th, 2024. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Riley?
Here.
Mr. Hunley?
Present.
Mr. Jackson?
Present.
Mr. Burnham?
Present.
Mr. Capuro?
Present.
Mr. Deutmeyer?
Here.
Ms. Abernathy? Present. Ms. Hyduk is present.
All right, item number one, minutes, March 14th, 2024. They've been distributed. If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes as stated.
Motion to approve by Mr. Burnham, second.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Jackson. Roll call, please.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Mr. Capuro?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. First item, Hickory Property Owners Association, developmental variance. Owner, Hickory Property Association, owners, 7606 West 136th Lane, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner, Thomas Vander Werf, 7515 West 136th Lane, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Vicinity of 7606 West 136th Lane, Cedar Lake, Indiana. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to construct the fence on a lot without a principal structure. Are the legals in order, sir?
They are.
Good, proceed. Petitioner, could you please state your name and address?
Thomas Vanderwerf, address is 7515 136th Lane, Cedar Lake, Indiana.
Okay, and state your purpose of your petition.
Yeah, I'm here to petition for a fence along the property line for the POA property for safety reasons, and we get a lot of traffic, people driving through there. We're trying to avoid that too. Of golf carts and even
Oh, I mean,
vehicles.
like you have vehicles driving through the property?
There has been, yes. Vehicles and mostly golf carts. A lot of golf carts just driving through there.
So it's similar to like what South Shore has, where they have,
Yes.
they have that area that's on the lake, it's all fenced in because it's their property, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
It'll still be open at the 136th lane for people to be able to access the property. We're just closing off that side. The other side has already has a fence from the owners. So, and the fence that we're looking to put up is an aluminum wrought iron look, similar to what they have on the grounds.
I assume there's multiple people that have voted on it, not us, but
Yes.
you guys decided just to...
We had a meeting, the POA had a meeting, and they agreed that it was a good idea to have the fence.
Was there a vote?
Yes.
May I ask what the vote was?
There was only 7 of us there, because there's not that much participation, and it was unanimous.
Okay.
Do you have minutes of that meeting?
I do not have the minutes of the meeting with me.
Can you get the minutes and get us a copy of that?
I can.
Yeah. So we can have it on file, that it was a vote taken and
Okay.
it passed.
How much of that fence are you putting up? What footage?
It's 109 feet.
109 feet?
Yeah, it's exactly where the red line is on the survey.
Okay. Would you have a seat for a minute, please, and I'll call for remonstrators. Do we have any remonstrators for or against this petition? Any remonstrators for or against? Anybody online, Ashley?
No one for this petition.
Okay, remonstration is closed. Please stand back up, sir. Does the building department have any comments?
We had no major concerns about this one. The only comment is that the fence will not be able to go all the way to the lake, and that's a DNR requirement. there's a specific footage that'll have to stay back, but we can work that out at the building permit level.
Okay. Board have any other comments?
Will there be a gate there for like an emergency vehicle to get in, or?
There'll be a 4-foot gate
What would you?
for access.
That's not a real big piece of property.
I mean, it's not huge, but it's a good amount of property there.
Okay.
And like I said, there's still gonna be access on the other side for emergency use, on 136 lane itself, that's all gonna be open.
Right, you're just putting a fence on the north end of the
I'm
property.
just putting a fence where it joins with the neighbor's property.
And height?
I got two quotes, one for a 4-foot, one for a 5-foot fence. We would rather go with the 5-foot fence, because it's actually cheaper for some reason.
And
And like I said, it's black. I have,
There's pictures in here from the,
okay.
The code is
Yeah,
there.
that's the style fence that we're,
Is there, there's nothing that's code for height, right?
6 foot max.
yeah, it's 50% see-through, it looks like, so.
any other discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion here.
I'll make a motion for petitioner to be granted. or
Second.
With the finding of facts?
With the finding of facts.
With the finding of facts.
Yep.
You seconded, Jim? Motion by Mr. Burnham, seconded by Mr. Hunley, with the findings of facts. No discussion, roll call, please.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Mr. Caparo?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, sir. Number 2, Johnson Developmental Variance, owner petitioner Donald Johnson, 13711 Birch Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Vicinity of 13716 Birch Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. This developmental variance allowed the petitioner to build a new home of approximately 1,361 square feet, less than the minimum building size. Do you mean it's less than the minimum, it's not 1,300 and
It's
some feet
one
short?
thousand 361 square feet, less than the 1,500 square feet required. I worded that one wonky.
I thought he was putting up for a little shed.
No, it's only gonna be about 100 and some odd square feet less than
Okay.
the required.
Minimum building size requirement and to build a detached garage before the construction of the house. Legals in order, sir?
They are.
Good. Name and address, please, sir?
Donald Johnson, 13716, Birch Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana.
Okay, will you state your request?
Yes, prior to learning the code, we decided on a house that we liked. It fit the actual foundation of the existing house that it was torn down by me. And I would like to keep the plans together. It's a very nice house, I believe, and I really don't feel like I have to go to the minimum that the town is requiring, because a lot of the houses are older in that neighborhood, and a lot of them don't even meet the 1,500 square foot requirement, as, of course, we're not being new. The house was abandoned, and was on the unsafe list, and that's why I tore it down. And I'm putting a small addition on the foundation, but another one of the reasons too is the offset to the street is very close to the 30, I think it's the 30 feet off the street that they're requiring also. And as long as, as far as the garage, I'm just requesting that I can build the garage at the same time as the house. I believe the garage will probably be done before the house will, but I'd like to start both projects at the same time, since it's going to be a detached garage.
The garage will be detached.
Yes.
Which others are like that?
Is this a legacy lot?
It's bigger than a legacy lot. It's, 14,000 square feet. A legacy lot is anything under 5,000 greater than 2,400. So, it
That's
is,
14, that's almost R1. 14,000, 15,000 is R1.
but it is in an older pre-platted subdivision of town.
Yeah, but my point being is that the house can be bigger if it's on 14,000 square feet. Why does it have to be undersized?
Retirement home.
Well, it's my girlfriend. It was a two-bedroom to begin with, sir.
Yes.
And I would, most of the houses in that area are two bedrooms, or three-bedroom small cottage homes. I'd like to keep it a two-bedroom, because I don't plan on keeping a family in there, besides me and maybe some of my, one of my kids comes and visits, but.
How big is the garage?
How big is the garage?
Hmm?
I think you're.
Say it's 24, I mean,
Yeah.
it's got lines, is it 24 by 36?
24 by 30 or 33.
I think
30, it says, isn't
Yeah,
it?
24 by
Or is
30.
that,
Maybe,
Like
okay,
three.
now that you say 33, I see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah.
I'm a carpenter by trade, so, it's gonna have a small shop and there were some tools. But-
Are there's there two sheds on this property also?
Yeah, there are, but they're gonna be torn down,
They're going bye-bye too?
yes.
So actually, this is 239 square feet smaller than the ordinance.
well, it's in an R2 zoning district, which the minimum is 1,500
And this
square
guy,
feet, and it's only gonna be
Minimum is 15,
1,500 square feet.
same, yeah, 231. For 239 smaller.
I thought I wrote it.
139.
yeah, it's 139. Yeah, your house is, the new house that you're building is gonna be 13 something, right?
I think 1375, actually.
Alright, so there you
It's
go.
got a,
So it's 125 square feet smaller,
Basically.
and then you're putting a new garage, and
Yeah,
you're meeting all the requirements for offset.
yes.
You're 32, which is 30, and you have plenty of room.
Lot coverage would only be 14.8%.
And the house that was there, of course, was only 900
912
square feet.
912 according to county
Oh.
records.
Okay, we have a seat for a minute, I'll call for remonstrations. Do we have any remonstrators for or against? Any remonstrators for or against? Anybody online, Ashley?
No one online, sir, and nothing has been received.
Remonstration is closed. You can step back up, sir. Building Department, any comments?
No major comments. He's correct, this was an unsafe, the house that had been on there was on the unsafe board. It was on the unsafe list for a year and a half before Mr. Johnson removed it down. So, there was no major concerns or comments from us in the building department. We like the fact that it is no longer unsafe and he's wanting to put something nice and new in the area.
So, what's the time frame on, you're gonna start the house and the garage at the same time?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion?
No, just in the summary here, it says you're gonna build the garage first, prior to the construction. They're just together they're gonna start, or what do you?
Yeah, I'm gonna basically, if I have a concrete pour, I might do the addition to the house and the footer of the garage.
Okay,
And do the pad, depends how it works out, but.
but not a
I'd like to
completed
start the-
garage before the house. Not a completed garage before the house, it's all gonna, okay.
When he was filing, he'd had conversations about about building the garage or doing the garage first to be able to store construction
Okay.
material and stuff in that, but they were gonna be being done consecutively on the same permit. Very different from the last thing we heard for our garage being done first.
Yeah, okay.
So that's why that portion's in there.
Perfect.
Any other discussion?
I'm good.
All right, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion for approve the variance to allow the petitioner to build a new home approximately 1,361 square feet, less than the minimum building requirement size requirement to build the attached garage before construction. That's how it's listed to the findings of the facts. If you're building the same thing, it ain't gonna be an issue anyway, so.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Mr. Burnham, seconded by Mr. Jackson. Any questions, any discussion? If not, roll call please.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Mr. Caparella?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you,
for
sir.
your consideration.
Thank you.
You betcha. Number 3, Nagy Developmental Variant, Larry and Margot Nagy, 9065 West 129th Place, Cedar Lake. Petitioner Larry Nagy, 9065 West 129th Place, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Synergy, 9065 West 129th Place, Cedar Lake, Indiana. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to build a second accessory structure for a total accessory structure size of approximately 1,783 square feet, and to have a wall height of 14 feet and a total height of 20 feet. Legals in order?
They are.
Good evening, sir. State your name and address, please.
Larry Nagy, 9065 West 129th Place, Cedar Lake, Indiana.
And tell us about your request.
Okay. Can I interject something?
Sure.
This is not going to be Nagy's 2.0. This is my retirement to put all my stuff in it, downsize, play with my race cars and my show cars and stuff. So, we have plenty of room to get the large trailer inside the building. The trailer is 10 foot, 11 inches tall, it's 37 feet long. To get that in the building, I need the extra wall heights to put a 12-foot door in. The size, I have a shed or storage building there already that's been there since late 70s, early 80s. I would like to have it 48 by 32, and that way I can put the trailer in, and dually, and a race car, and the show car, and still have room to manipulate and move around. That's basically what I want to do. I will build it to look just like the homes around it, same pitch, roof pitch. It's going to be the same color as the house, same landscape like the house, so on. I did bring pictures of the surrounding area, if you want to see those, so you know what I'm talking about and what's going on.
I have a question. So when I'm facing your house, that building height, the highest part of that building will be no higher than your existing home that you have now?
We're try and keep it, it might be a foot because of the way the slope comes down.
I mean, I understand that why you're trying, what you're trying to achieve. I'm just asking.
It will be shorter than the neighbors.
So the building will be less than the neighbor, but it may be a foot higher than what you have now.
Depending on how because the land right there falls drastically.
Yeah.
And like I said, some of the pictures would show what I'm talking about.
And what's the road, do you know what the pitch is on the building that you're building?
412.
What's that?
412.
412?
We could lower the pitch, make the but then it won't fit in with.
Yeah, I know, the cosmetic part of it.
How many buildings, accessory buildings are there now?
Just the one.
Just one?
Just the one. He's proposing the second one.
And what does this do for coverage?
They were under.
So he's still with this new building of the size that he wants to build and the existing one that's there, he's still under his size.
Yeah, the net acreage is like a 1.08 acreage. I can't remember if I put it in my staff report, it doesn't look like it, but when I did calculate the lot coverage, they were under.
So he's going for higher walls. Walls should be 10 foot, and was 14.
Correct. Higher height for up 20 feet. And then, the reason he needs the square footage is because there's that already existing shed on the property.
So we really don't wanna tear it down, because it's got a paver walkway up to the shed, and it's all landscaped, and
I don't want you to tear it down either.
You don't have to, you're under your minimum square footage anyway, so.
All right, would you have a seat for a minute, Mr. Nagy, and call for remonstrators? Do we have any remonstrators for or against?
Yes.
Please step forward, state your name and address, please.
Rebecca Spindler. I'm at 9005 West 129th Place in Cedar Lake. I'm the next door neighbor, which is right on the right side.
Okay.
So, in the case where he's putting it, it's right at the start, right at the end of my house, the back end of my house. And, pretty much it's taking up the whole, when you look at the length, practically the whole yard there. So it's blocking everything, and it's going to be quite tall with the 14-foot walls and the 20-foot height. So, I mean, I really don't want to look at a giant commercial-sized, basically, building that, it's not pleasing to look at, and I mean, it blocks all my view from my deck. You can see it from the front. He says that there's a 9-foot drop, but there's not a 9-foot drop where it's starting. So,
What view is he blocking for you?
so from the windows of my, room that's on that side, and then the whole deck area, because it takes the whole part of the, back there.
Yeah, but, I mean, what can't you see if you put the building up? A lake, a mountain, or what?
Just anything, like who would really want to look at a giant metal 20-foot,
But that wasn't my question.
Well,
Is what is the view he's blocking?
just the yard and.
Just the yard, okay.
Yeah.
It's not a lake, it's not a mountain.
No,
it's
there's not a lake or a mountain.
No, okay, yeah, well, it's definitely not there, but, yeah, okay. Okay, thank you. Any other remonstrators for or against? Yes, sir, state your name and address, please.
Jared Wilkening, 10826 West 131st Avenue. Mr. President, I had the same questions you have. What view is being blocked by this building? I don't know how many of you have been to the property and actually looked at it. I think the view that's being blocked is his backyard, or the Legion. I don't know how that's causing any adverse effect on the neighbor's property. I don't see it. There's a tremendous amount of property there. The man stood here and said what he was gonna do, and unlike some of the other buildings we've approved, you guys approved, I approved, what they said they were gonna do is not what they're doing. Jeremy Kuiper, on the other hand, is doing exactly what he said he was gonna do. And for that reason, I think, this should, proceed in a positive manner. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other remonstrators for or against? Do we have anybody online or any correspondence?
No one online, one letter received. This is also from Miss Rebecca Spindler at 9005 West 129th Place. It says, Dear Board of Zoning Appeals, I am writing an objection of the variance request for a second accessory structure for a total accessory structure size of approximately 1,783 square feet, a wall height of 14 feet and a total height of 20 feet, and the neighbor residing at 9005 West 129th, Cedar Lake, Indiana, parcel ID number 45-15-327-327-004.000-014, which is directly next door to the above location. In response to the applicant's statement that there will be no negative effect to the nearby houses is untrue. The proposed second accessory structure between our houses the proposed second accessory structure would be between our houses. It lines up directly up with the back of my house. My house is 36.5 feet from the side property line, and the proposed structure would be 6 feet from the property line on Mr. Nagy's side. My understanding is that the proposed structure is going to be a metal and post building with the requested wall height of 14 feet, total height of 20 feet, and building square footage at a size of 48 feet by 32 feet. This is a massive structure. It is a considerable difference from the allowance under zoning ordinance 1402, chapter 11, section A, which states that the wall height shall not exceed 10 feet from finished floor surface and 15 feet total height, and a maximum of 1,600 square feet for accessory buildings. This is an extreme size for a residential neighborhood and more along the lines of a commercial-sized building. The size of the structure would be larger than several homes on the street, including the applicant's residence. It is an obstruction of my view from my house and deck. The applicant states that the building will sit at a 9-foot drop from the roadway. Where the proposed side of the structure is outlined, there is not a 9-foot drop at the front of the structure. The size and height of the proposed structure will be highly visible from the road. I ask that you please adhere to the current zoning and not approve this variance. Thank you, Rebecca Spindler.
This is over an acre, correct?
It is.
And how does that affect the size of the building? What you just read there, the ordinance, isn't that for less than an acre?
So we do allow for metal and post frame buildings if they are over 1,001 square feet. The only areas that can build that size are anything over an acre or greater than 2 acres. Anything greater than an acre can build up to 1,600 square feet. Anything greater than 2 acres is able to build up to 2,000 square feet, which allows for metal and post frame buildings to be built by right without a variance.
Okay, and then with it being over an acre, how does that affect the heights of the wall?
We did not make allowances for wall height in the zoning ordinance, if it's greater than the 1,000 square feet that's allowed for anything
That's
other.
still 10 foot?
Yeah, it's still 10 foot. We did not make any allowances
And the
for,
height,
height is allowed to be up to 15.
up to 16?
15 for the size property they have.
You can come back up, Mr. Nagy. Sure. Do you have any other comments, building department?
We didn't have many concerns at the building department. They're following all required setbacks that are required for an accessory structure. They're more than 6 feet off the property line. They're showing 9 feet. They're 10 feet from every other structure. They're under block coverage. We didn't have any other concerns with it when we discussed it at the building department level.
He's 20 feet from his easement from the back. I mean, he has plenty of room.
Does your property join the railroad track property?
No, the Legion property is across our backyards, hers and mine. And then there's a section that's 300 foot wide that goes up almost a quarter of a mile, north. So it doesn't adjoin, there's just a ravine and stuff that the Legion owns.
Yeah. Now, is Miss Spindler's property east of you or west of you?
East.
East. So,
The only view that this
The
building
railroad
is
tracks
blocking
need to be
is my
blocked.
swimming pool in my backyard.
yeah.
Any other discussion?
I know there's a lot of trees back there. How many trees are you taking down to get this building, or are you taking any trees
I
down?
took 2.
Two, okay. How many trees are between her property and yours now that are left?
Between it?
Yeah, I'm looking at an aerial view,
Yeah.
and it shows a heck of a lot of trees between your
There's one
property.
that's V'd, that belongs to Miss Spindler. And then on down just a little ways, there's another V that belongs to me. So there's 4 trees between the property. Well, there's 2, but they're both V'd.
Right, right. Well, it just looks like a lot of,
Yeah, some of these pictures were from back when,
Well,
like, when I looked at the ones for, because I've got the, what do you want to call it, the plot plan from before we built the house. I looked at that, I went, holy cow, there's a lot of trees when you look down.
Right. So does her house sit on the side where your swimming pool is, or on the other side?
No, it's
On the other side.
On the other
Yeah,
side?
there's right over there.
This one right here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that's highlighted in blue on the screen currently is her property,
Yeah.
the neighbors.
Yeah.
She has, said really has nothing behind her, and the view that she's considering is through his yard.
Right.
Which is on a hill, and there's all the trees.
You have to come back, well, we're closed on that already, so, okay?
So to achieve this height for your building, you're just doing it so you can get the pitch for your roof. And you are not gonna, the new building that's going to be built is not gonna be taller than her house.
Not according to everything we've looked at. Her house sits much higher than mine because of the way when Mr. Uran built it.
Yeah,
We built on that cul-de-sac first,
uh-huh,
and when Mr. Uran built it, it actually sets, the ground is actually about 3 feet. I haven't measured it with a laser. And then her roof, but I've got a flagpole that is 21 feet, and it's below her, and these pictures show that.
Any other discussion?
There's no other way, no other design to bring that roof line down, those walls? I'm just worried about once we make these approvals, we got to live with them. We've been through some of these before,
Well,
so.
as I've looked at the other buildings around that've been approved, and probably some even when I was on the BZA got approved, we can squeeze the roof down, but then it will, her building, my building, the building across the street that just put up the same size building, only it's, his is 32 by 40. His roof pitch matches the house. We're going to have the siding and stuff on the building so it matches my house identically, and so that it doesn't, you know, all the colors, all the stuff matches right in with a paved driveway to it, so.
You need that height because of
To
the
get
trailer.
get the trailer inside the building with the air conditioning on top of it.
plus, you know, he has a grade, you know, so his grade is
Yeah.
like, you know, whatever it is, I'm just using that as an example, that grade, so when he's building it, to get that wall, I mean, to where he's going, that's the reason why.
What I explained, and maybe I'm stepping.
Am I explaining it wrong? I mean, I
No,
think
no,
that-
you got it.
I think that's exactly what you're
Yeah.
doing.
Is according, if I shorten the building by 5 feet and lower it to a 10-foot wall, I don't even need to be here. 'Cause, so, the square footage would be under 1,600, and the 10-foot wall gives me, I need no variance.
But then you can't achieve what you actually
But
want to do.
then I can't get I wanna get my stuff in the building, out of the eye of the people. And if I do that, then I have to park that 37-foot-long trailer in front of the building, and which would block Miss Spindler's view even more.
Well, I would say, I think we'd rather look at a building than a trailer. And there's no rule that you can't have that trailer there.
Right, as long as they're plated and licensed, they're legal.
So he's gonna put that trailer and all, whatever else he wants in there, it's gonna be inside that building.
Okay, any other discussion? If not, then I'll entertain a motion.
I have one question for attorney. Can I put in the motion that he cannot exceed the height of the neighbor's house? Are we allowed to say that? You know, if the lady that's, you know, he's saying that he's gonna be able to build this top of the structure, and his house is lower than hers, he cannot exceed a certain wall height, or height of the overall roof. Am I allowed to put that in the motion?
Could, I mean, it'd be a reasonable condition. The only problem that could create is you might have the unintended consequence where somebody's sitting out there with a laser, and then we're into some sort of dispute over whether he's an inch higher or 2 inches higher or whatever. So,
If I was, you know, if I said exactly the height, he can't exceed you know, his existing home height of 1 foot. Does that give us clarity then?
So you're saying the height of his existing home plus a foot?
Where his existing house is, the new structure cannot have height of 1 foot. Right there, that's what you need, right? So
I haven't been, like I said, I haven't been there with a transit and seen exactly what the numbers are.
Yeah, I don't have that ability either. I'm just trying to achieve, I don't want you building something too high and defeat the
I
purpose.
can show you.
Well, he's asking for 20-foot height, right?
Right.
Right.
So
Yeah, I mean, he
put that
gets,
in there,
the
then we-
limitation is that.
Can I just,
show you-
It cannot exceed what
20
the
foot.
variance is.
Okay,
If you
that's
grant him
it.
a 20-foot
Yeah.
height variance, and he builds it 21 feet,
No,
he's in violation.
And then it's in
No, we're not gonna
violation.
do that. We're not
Alright.
gonna do that.
I was just wanting clarity, that's all.
Sure.
You know, and there again, maybe I'm speaking Russia. My contractor thinks it'll come in at about 19. He goes, but if we go at 19, ask for 19, and it comes in at 19.4, then we've got, he says, so let's request 20, and if it's shorter, it's a win.
I think what Mr. Burnham's saying is we just call for what's in your request.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted clarity,
Yeah,
that's all I was trying to get.
exactly. I agree. Okay, no more discussion, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a favorable I'll make, do I make a favorable motion, is that what I'm doing? Or I'm allowing the variance?
It's an approval.
I'm approving the variance to be allowed the petitioner to build a second accessory structure for a total accessory structure size of approximately 1,783 square feet, and to have a wall height of 14 feet and a total height of 20 feet, to findings of the fact.
I second it.
I got a motion by Mr. Burnham and a second by, Jim Hunley, and you said finding of the facts, right?
Correct, I did.
No other discussion, roll call please.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
No.
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Mr. Capora?
Yes, motion carries 4-1.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Oh, that's the letter.
Number 4, Cedar Lake 133 Developmental Variance, owner Cedar Lake 133 LLC and various builders, 8800 Wicker Avenue, St. John, Indiana, 46373. Petitioner Schilling Developmental, 8900 Wicker Avenue, St. John, Indiana, 46373. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to allow for a lot coverage of 35% for the entirety of Lakeside Unit 2, Block 1. Are the legals in order?
They are.
Name and address, please.
Good evening, Jack Slager with Schilling Development, 8900 Wicker Avenue in St. John, representing Cedar Lake 133, the developer of Lakeside, and the various builders that are currently building in Lakeside. This is in regards to the latest phase of Lakeside that we developed in the fall of last year. 55 lots. It is zoned R2, and as the builders have been coming in and applying for various permits for building on these lots, it was discovered that several of the applications for building permit did exceed the 25% lot coverage. The minimum lot size in the R2 zone is 10,000 square feet, which would allow for a maximum 2,500 square foot footprint. These homes aren't overly large, but many of them do have a 3-car garage. That's about 1,000 square feet, typically 800 to 1,000 square feet. So that leaves about 1,500 square feet remaining. We're seeing some 2,000 square foot ranches. Sometimes they have a covered patio or a covered porch on the back. So I think out of the first 7 permits that were applied for, 4 of them got kicked back for being over the 25% requirement. So unfortunately, I don't know that this is something that was really enforced in the past. We looked back and we were able to find some in Unit 1 that were exceeded the 25% coverage. And not all of our lots are the minimum 10,000 square feet. Several of them are larger than that, but we're still struggling. So these houses are coming in at 28, 30, 32% coverage. And so rather than having each builder come in every time a house goes over the limit, we said we would come in, represent the builders, and ask for a blanket variance on the whole development. Obviously, not every home is gonna exceed the 25%, but even if they're right at 25% now and they come in later and ask for a shed or decide to add a covered porch, then they're gonna have to come back for a variance, so. So we just wanted to get a blanket variance on everything out there, eliminate the need for a bunch of variances.
Is there any stipulations in the subdivision that require, you know, are they allowed to have, or not allowed to have, like, sheds?
They are allowed to have sheds.
Are they allowed to have a swimming pool?
They are allowed to have swimming.
Above ground or in ground?
Correct, yes.
So they don't have any restrictions when it comes to that?
We have to approve sheds and pools.
Well, you know, when you go to get your permit, but
Yeah.
oh, so there's an association that
Yeah.
has to approve it?
Yeah, yeah, so we require that it matches the house, no metal sheds, no plastic sheds, things like that, but, there are several out there in the first phase already.
These are all single-family residents?
Yeah, all single family. And again, not all, I mean, the 2 stories are generally have a smaller footprint, but we're seeing more ranches, and anywhere from 2,000 to 2,400 on a ranch with a 3-car garage, you're over immediately, so I believe there's at least.
But they're fitting now, like they're, you know, your setbacks.
Oh, yeah, the lots are plenty big with the setbacks.
The setbacks are, I mean, even out there, the setbacks are worth it.
Yeah, 25% is low in the research that I've done on other towns. If they have a lot coverage requirement, it's usually in the 35 to 40% range.
Well, I assume you guys come with that percentage for a reason, so it's not made up.
That percentage is a carryover from 496, so that one didn't change.
Oh, so, yeah.
What, the 25%?
Mhm.
From when?
496.
That's before I was born.
Zoning ordinance 496, that was passed in 1989. So that one was a carryover, there was no change from zoning ordinance 496 to zoning ordinance 1402. We kept that one the same.
So if we do approve the variance for 55 lots, and they build a ranch that covers 35%, then there's no way they can come back in and get a variance to put up a shed or a pool or something.
That's true, and I don't, right now, I don't think there's any of them that are close to 35. I've seen anywhere from 28 to 32 was probably the biggest one. I don't know how many permits you guys are holding right now, but I'm aware of 4 builders that are waiting to build.
We've kicked back a few. I think we're holding at least one.
Okay.
And that's because of size?
Because of lot coverage. And it actually came up with, the first one came in, Tony brought me, he says, so this is 28% lot coverage. It's over. So that's when I think conversation began with that builder and with Jack, and then Jack went back to his team and they decided they wanted to seek the blanket variance for the whole, but in all in total, I think we've had all of their different builders come in. At least each one has had one permit over the 25% lot coverage. So instead of, the discussion had been, instead of inundating your guys' agendas with multiple different variances for increased lot coverage in this subdivision, they would go ahead and seek the blanket.
In my understanding, you know, this is the second phase of Lake Shore. There is going to be, that I saw, 2 more phases after that. Are we going to, in the next, you know, because the roads have done, I mean, I know the plot, that one side, well, because the roads aren't done on the other side of the lake part, is there?
No, but it's all plat, it's primary plat.
Are we gonna incur the same issue in the next development too,
Yeah.
also?
Yeah,
And the fourth one too?
yeah, we'll likely come back in and ask for the blanket variance, or if there's a way to do it during the plat approval process, we'll do it then, but, right now, I'm just trying to.
Use bigger lots.
Well, actually, they are, I mean, they're
I'm just
bigger than
saying-
the R2 requirement.
Well, I'm saying,
Well,
you're designing a subdivision, you know you need 25% lot coverage, you make bigger lots if you're gonna build those style of houses. You know, everybody's always coming to us and this is, you know, you got time to pre-design this.
Sure.
For the lot size. If that's, the houses are gonna be bigger, you make bigger lots so those houses will fit on them. You know, you can do that now.
Well,
I mean, you're not, this one here, I'm guessing is, you already got it plotted, but this, I know you're building all the, you know, you got a whole new big side of that. You can design those lots, if that's the style of houses that these, builders are gonna build, you just get, okay, here, we're gonna get bigger lots. You might have fewer houses, but they'll fit on the lots.
Did you have an issue with the first phase?
we did not. It's never come up in the past, and we've looked back, and there are several that are over in the first phase. I don't think this has ever been enforced in the past that I recall, because it's never been an issue.
Because the first phase lots are probably no bigger than what the second, third, or fourth phase is
They're all
going
the
to be,
same.
correct?
They're all the same.
And those people have above-ground swimming pools, they have sheds. I mean, most families are gonna grow into it and need space of that magnitude.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, again, the subdivision's platted, the builders have started. If we force them at the 25%, then we're saying build smaller houses with two-car garages, which, you know, we have higher covenants than what the town minimums are, but they're not that high. They're not, we don't require 2,500 square foot ranches, but if that's what people are coming in and buying and saying, this is what I want to build, then, you know, the builders are wanting to appease their customers.
Well, I'm just saying, okay, on this one, yeah, you know, you're kind of stuck with the lot size, but all the other stuff has not even been approved lot size yet, have they?
They have.
Well, it's been primary platted and approved,
Primary.
so, yeah, yeah, not final platted, but
It's not final plan.
it's engineered and, yeah.
You know, I'm saying is, it can be changed.
Typically, once it's past primary plan and engineered, we'd have to, and Jack can
Well,
correct me if
let
I'm
me ask you
wrong,
this.
we'd have to go back to engineering
Okay,
and have the plan commission
Okay,
reapprove the
how did-
primary.
if they were gonna design these houses, how did that get preliminary if you knew the lot coverage was gonna be above the 25?
It
How
was
did that get approved before the
It-
fact?
platted back in 2018 originally. Jack, you can correct me if I'm wrong, because that was before I started with the
Yeah,
town.
that's correct.
And then they got through Unit 1, and then they got told, you can't build anymore until we get water. We have had a moratorium on this developer for
5 years.
5 years to that they couldn't move forward any further, until just recently, when we were able to do improvements to Robin's Nest and find for them to build 55 more homes. And then Schillings has been working with the town to extend our water main off of 141st to connect to the water main they have in the original lakeside, to improve and loop our system on the east side to help our
Yeah, but
water system.
That line has not, well, that line's tied to has not been approved by the state yet, has it? Has it got final approval to open that up to?
It's in the engineering phase right now.
Right, so it's not even usable.
All right, let me call for remonstrators. Have a seat a minute, Jack. Sure. Are there any remonstrators for or against this request? Are there any remonstrators for or against?
Jerry Wilkening, 10826 West 131st Avenue, Cedar Lake. I just had some questions. This 35% lot coverage request, is this just for the home? Or is this for any accessories?
Total lot coverage for these properties would be 35%. So it could be the home plus a shed, if its owner builds a shed in the future, to increase it the 10%.
Is the pool included in that process too?
Not anymore.
No, so the pool can be whatever.
So you can really pack a backyard. Birchwood Farms, I believe, told customers, based on this lot size, how big of a shed they could have before they bought it. This is what you're allowed, to try to avoid every single person coming in here asking for exactly that. So,
Yeah, I don't know what the size of those lots are. I don't know what the dimensions are there. I mean, they're stacked in there too. That's not a wide open plot of land. I mean, you don't live in that subdivision either.
It's not an estate lot,
Right.
yeah,
Perch with
Yeah.
the PUD.
yeah.
I mean, I'm familiar with the area.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to feel,
Yeah, but I believe they were asked to put in their document somewhere, this is if you want a shed.
yeah, I mean, a lot of subdivisions
Ahead of
have
time,
that.
yeah.
I mean, they're gonna be forced to it because their amount of coverage that they're putting the houses. I mean, to build a 2,500 square foot, two-story house isn't very hard anymore. I mean, that's what they are.
Yeah.
I would love to see one that's being built that isn't that. And the ranches just keep getting bigger, and then they take up a lot of space, because you got a huge garage, and then you have a huge foundation to go over to get that square footage.
That was the only questions I had.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks, Jerry. Any other administrators, for or against? Anybody online or any correspondence, Ashley?
No correspondence received, and it does not appear anyone's online for this petition.
I assume this subdivision goes by the same variances that we have in the town, anything over, for the size of a shed is what is the biggest you can build in subdivision, 8 by 16?
This one, because all the lots are 10,000 square feet plus,
Mhm.
would be 800 square feet maximum square foot, accessory structure size.
But if they're going over already, can you still put a shed on there? I'm confused.
No.
So there's no shed if you goes,
If they go to their maximum
If they go to that
35%.
35%, no, there would not be the ability for them to give
Yeah,
the
we've
shed,
got-
because then the
we're allowing
two
for some cushion with the 35%, nobody's hit that yet, and
No.
I mean, if you have a house that big and a garage that big, hopefully you don't need a shed, so.
Well, why are the contractors offering houses that are too big for the lot?
Yeah,
That's
gonna be
the
separate.
contractor's problem, it's
well,
not our problem.
it's never been, yeah, but it's never been a problem. In the first phase, they were building whatever they wanted to build, and now customers are coming and say, I want a bigger house.
Well, there were a couple in there that got fined because they were over,
Yeah, maybe there were
coverage
some
and that.
variances, there might have been, I don't.
I know there were, because I sat on board when they got fined,
Well,
But,
yeah,
I'm just saying, when I had built my house in Havenwood, I wanted a bigger house, but it wouldn't fit on the lot. So you know what? I got a smaller house. Okay? The same thing here. These people want a bigger house, then they have their choice.
Well, yeah.
Downsize it, or find a different piece of property. I'm not for this, because it starts here with 55 lots, and then you got, another 500 to go?
That's right.
And now we got 500 lots, now we're jamming in 3,000 square foot homes.
There should only be 2,500, is that what you're saying?
Yep.
So you, the town.
It's all about money, because you can stuff bigger houses on smaller lots, and that's not what we want.
So you want smaller homes,
You want
No,
you want a house that fits the lot.
Yeah,
You knew coming in, what the lot sizes were, and what houses would fit on those. You should've came in with bigger lots if you wanted 30,000 square feet, or whatever whatever you want for the
It's
house.
disappointing, people wanna live in Cedar Lake and they wanna build nice homes on these lots, but if they can't, if you're
They
telling
can
them.
if the developer gives them bigger lots. That's my point. Everybody's trying to stuff as many houses as they can in a subdivision. Now, if you design the subdivision with big lots, people will move here, because they're gonna have bigger yards and a nice home on it. Now you're gonna have a big house, maybe a shed, and maybe a pool, and you're gonna have no yard.
Well, the pool thing, the situation's gonna happen, and, there is another side to it. I mean, you've got cost factors of developing the subdivision. I get what the math, how you guys are getting to the math. It's just, you were aware of the sizes of the lots, what they were supposed to be, and there's, I think, 8 different builders in that subdivision.
Five buildings.
Okay,
But honestly, the lot coverage has never come up before, and this is the first time we've been aware of it, so.
it's been closed.
Let's have a false statement.
Here's the deal. If it came up before, it shouldn't have. Those permits or whatever should have never been allowed out of here without a variance. And I can't change that, but I can change it now. And that's why I'm here. We don't want people coming here and this is we're changing the whole subdivision. This whole 55 lots. I do not like doing blanket variances.
Would you consider 30% so that we can allow the homes that are awaiting their permits to be built? That are sitting at 28% or slightly over,
and those ones that are at 28%, what's the square footage of the house? Do you have any, I mean, they're probably a ranch or two, it's probably a ranch, correct?
2,400 square foot
So
ranch.
2,400 square foot with a 3-car garage?
How many bedrooms are they putting in those?
3 and 4.
3, 4, probably 2.5 baths. You know, an average home that's being built. And just the problem is the lots aren't big enough for that house without us doing the 30%. I mean, he's asking 35, if we jumped it down to 30, we'd still be able to get those houses in. The problem is the homeowners, when they're building at that high level, some of them are not gonna be able to get sheds, one shed.
Well, and we'll just have to make that clear.
Hopefully, that makes it clear.
You didn't make it clear that they can't build 35% coverage.
I think we're gonna see a
so-
bunch of shed people coming in here, we're just gonna have to deny sheds constantly.
I'm thinking of the ramifications. We go ahead and we allow even 30% here, then the whole rest of the subdivision is gonna walk right in and want 30%. And, I can't see that happening. If we're talking about one house coming in here, yeah, we would probably consider it in a heartbeat. But you're
only
talking
problem
about
is that
550 homes.
The only problem with that, though, is once you do on that one house, so Mr. Builder number 1 realizes, hey, that one house got to be 20, whatever, we'll just throw it on, let's say it got to be 33,000 square feet. Well, you do the math, now, well, what's the next builder gonna wanna build?
Well,
I know if I was building houses, I would wanna be building at 3,000 square feet,
But
because it's a dollar sign.
if we hold our guns,
Right, if you hold
the
it
next
down.
developer comes in, okay, they're not budging on the 25%. I better put bigger lots, because these people want bigger homes.
So as a minor comment, the 550 that's Lakeside South, those are in a PUD. Those are at a specific lot coverage. That would not impact what their request is. The remaining homes in Lakeside Original is about 95 left to be final platted, Jack?
Yeah.
Around there? Because it was 200.
91, I think.
It was 200 total for Lakeside Original, that's the original subdivision that was done. So, any decisions that the board makes tonight, we're not going to have any potential ramifications for Lakeside South, because that was the PUD, everything is built into that document.
But what it will affect, if the developers find out that we're giving these variances for this guy, they're all gonna come in here and want that same ability to raise the lot coverage.
Well, it's a blanket, they're all gonna get it anyways.
Well, what we're trying to avoid is each builder having to come in every time they go to build a house. I was trying to save them the time and money of individually coming in. And it may only be 10% of the homes that are gonna be over the 25, but, that's why I'm,
Well, if it's only 10%, you have them come in and get their variance,
okay.
That's
You're
5,
you know?
5.5 houses out of 55.
That's what he just said, 10%.
Yeah.
So that's 5 variances they got to come and get, or 6.
I see that.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, I don't know that you actually officially closed the public hearing, so that needs to be done. I know you said it when Jack was
Yeah.
talking and there were some other comments, but I don't know that it actually was said before that. So, just to be clear, if you can close it, so you can proceed.
You got to restate it. I thought you said it, but.
All right, public hearing is closed. Or public comment is closed. Any more discussion? If not, then I'll entertain a motion.
Would we be at better interest instead of killing this to talk more about it and let it go to next month, or do you want us to vote on it now?
I have a question,
Go ahead.
and this is for Ryan. So Ryan, if not approved, if denied, because technically if a variance is denied, there has to be a whole year between, and because it, was done for a blanket. If denied,
I see where you're going, that's an interesting question,
will
does it impact
will
individual?
any individual developer or builder be able to come in and ask for a variance for an increased lot coverage?
Or will they have to wait in that calendar
Or will
year?
they have to wait a whole calendar
don't-
year?
Or
I know there's
do
4
it
builders that are waiting right now for their permits that were probably applied for over a month ago while we went through this process.
One was applied for, I think,
And these are pre-spec
end of
homes, these are not spec homes.
February, mid to end February, that we're holding.
Are most of those houses there are sold, aren't they? They're not,
A lot of
there are
them
no
are sold.
models, are they?
There are no models up yet, but
Yeah.
most of the homes under construction are sold.
You got
It's
me.
been very popular. I would respectfully ask you to consider 30% if 35 is too extreme.
Here again, my fears are what ramifications down the road does this get, not only in this subdivision, but other subdivisions or houses to be built down the road. We've got, a moratorium right now, but, you know, we've got, 3, 4, 5 developments that are sitting there. I mean, you know, that could affect a lot of stuff here.
That 25% comes from planning, correct?
Yeah. It's the ordinance, when the ordinances were made, well, she said, what, back in 96?
1989 was when 496 was passed, and when we updated 1402, it never got changed. Discussion happened prior to me starting with the town, so I'm not sure why that discussion didn't occur, why it was kept with the 25%. I don't have that knowledge because that discussion started prior to me with the town.
It didn't come up because it was never questioned before. We went over those and then we sat there and then we discussed what was the ordinances. And, anything over 25% coverage was never discussed. Of course, we weren't building, several years ago, we weren't building, as heavy as we.
I just wonder why they weren't discussed. I mean, we know homes that have been purchased or built at more than that square footage. of homes in Havenwood, those houses are pretty good size. I guarantee they had more than the 25% coverage on them. That whole row.
Very well could be.
I mean, I'm saying, I'm just throwing it out there.
That was built in 95. There's been a lot more come up since,
Right.
we discussed this. Can, we open the public discussion again, since more has been added?
Up to you, Mr. Chairman, it's your meeting.
Yeah, I'll open it again. If Jack will have a seat, then I'll call for administrators again and we'll see what happens. Are there any administrators for or against this? Name and address, please.
13437 Cardinal Lane, Cedar Lake, Indiana, Robin's Nest. I just agreeing with gentleman over there. He said these people have enough money to want to build a big house. They should go somewhere else when they have bigger lots. You know, this just sounds right to me.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you, sir. Ma'am?
Rose Buccaneers, 5913 Tahoe Place, Cedar Lake, Indiana. I'm in phase 1, and we were only shown houses that would fit our lot size. There was no wiggle room. So I don't see, if these houses are bigger, and I butt up against the phase 2, that means their backyards are gonna be pushed back more towards my backyard. And I don't see why allowances are being made when, you know, the first subdivision the first phase 1 had to follow the rule. So it's gonna happen continuously. Why are these builders showing people homes? I mean, there were 5 houses you could pick from, and that was it from each builder. So how are they even getting, you know, we wanted to change things. No, you can't do this on this. Okay, we listened.
And ma'am, you live in phase 1.
Right. And right now, my neighbor's yard is flooded, I have a mountain of dirt, I'm washing the floor, the kitchen, it's only gonna get worse, and if we're gonna make the houses bigger and push them back towards us more, the problem is gonna be for us, for the people in Robin's Nest. That's my say.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
One 4513 Morris, Terry Brothers. Just wanted to, looking at the development and sitting in the room when these developments have been passed in the past, all these things have been discussed at length in many, many developments in the last 3 years that I've been coming to meetings. And I would tend to agree with some of the board members that are sitting tonight about the repercussions that come after the fact. If we start changing PUDs after the fact, well, where does that leave us? Are we gonna be winding up having to pay legal fees over and over again to have to defend ourselves in court for the next person that comes along and wants to change theirs? Or even to try to change our moratorium or to change the zoning ordinances in general? It seems like a real slippery slope, so I just hope that you guys would exercise caution on this decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
I don't really have an opinion on the percentage of the lot size.
Did you name and address?
Kelly Parker, 13346 Superior Lane, Cedar Woods, Indiana.
Thank
I
you.
am part of phase one, and my concern is the elevation of the houses. In the phase three that they've begun, they've gone 2 foot above the ground level where we're at. So the houses are sitting 2 foot above us.
Well, they can only go to a certain height.
Yeah, I mean, that's a plot,
Because when
the surveyor lays those out to the top where the developer has, for whatever.
Right,
That's
and-
where the placements of the homes are.
And when we went with the surveyor over our house, they said that they had to go to 18 inches below ground level, so we would meet that height. But the houses behind us are being built up higher, and all of the water is pooling in and flooding my backyard. And I'm actually now getting it's kind of like a sinkhole between us and Robin's Nest, where the electrical boxes, where it's pooling in. So, I mean, as far as 30%, I'm okay with that, I don't mind that, because I'm okay with it. I'm more concerned with the elevation of the house.
Maximum height would be 30 feet for anything in there, because it's a straight zoned R2 section. From 12 inches below top of foundation.
I mean, I don't know how tall they are,
We do review building heights when the permits come through, and making sure that they're not exceeding any section of the ordinance height included. And our inspectors do take a look at that as well.
Okay.
And then any new home, I'm sure you're familiar with yours as well, is required to submit an as-built, making sure that everything has been graded to approved engineering plans.
Right, and ours actually wasn't at the beginning. Tim Kubiak was coming out and helping us with that. But yeah, so that was just my concern.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Any more comments? Seeing none? Comments is closed. Well, I'm still against changing the ordinance, or variance for the ordinance, but, we've got 4 other board members here, so. Any more discussion?
Did you figure out the answer to your question, if we
So we've been scouring the zoning ordinance. We know there's a provision in it, but the short answer to the question is, I haven't seen the language of that particular provision to be able to give you a firm explanation one way or another as to whether I think it would apply. Now, in a lot of circumstances, if there's a material change, which I think there certainly could be. I mean, Jack is here on behalf of, 55 lots, and if John Doe comes in on behalf of one single lot, I think that is clearly a material change in the application that's been made here. But without having the exact language of that particular provision, I can't give you a firm answer one way or another right now.
I was always under the impression that, if it was denied, they could not bring back that same request for a year. If they changed something in their request, then they could come back before a year. So in other words, if he's asking for 35 and we deny it, and then he come back, in a month for 30, that would be allowable. That's my understanding from the.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that interpretation. I think it's reasonable, right? If theoretically, the reason why someone would come back with a different request is because they have made a modification to address some of your concerns,
Correct.
right? I presume Jack's not gonna come back here 12 months from now and say, what do you feel about 55 lots again, right? Assuming it's denied, right? So, it would make the most sense under sort of that interpretation. That's how I tend to lean. I just don't have the exact language or the wording that's in your zoning ordinance to say that with 100% certainty.
Our decision still goes before the town council, then, right?
For
No.
decision.
This is-
For decision.
This is our decision.
Yeah.
Is our decision.
Yeah. So, I'm just saying, if this gets denied, you think each builder will be able to come in for single lot variance?
It would make the most sense, right? Because, I mean,
I would think so too,
why
but-
should everyone else be precluded because you don't want to grant a blanket
Right.
variance for the entire subdivision? And that would be my recommendation. Obviously, I'd want to talk to Attorney Austin about it, but I don't think he would necessarily have a substantially different thought on that.
Right.
Right, the theory is you want the folks in here that need it, and you want to hear those cases on a case-by-case basis. So, if, John Doe comes in for his lot as opposed to 55, that's obviously different. It's one specific property within the 55, but it's different than the application here.
I guess my question is because each lot was advertised for it.
Yeah, every single one of the 55, but that application would be different. That application would be for, lot 255, not, 55 lot.
Anything else?
I don't have any more.
Well, then I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion we deny.
Motion made by Mr. Honey to deny. Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Riley. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Mr. Caporo?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Jack. Number 5, Kubel, variance of use and developmental variance. Owner, Martha Ann Kubel, trust dated 1/31/92, 13305 Moore Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner, Brian Kubel, 13305 Moore Street, 13305 Moore Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Vicinity of 13135 Moore Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. The variance of use is to allow the petitioner to have a parking lot in a B2 zoning district continuing the already existing use on the lot. And then the second part of this is, this developmental variance is to allow the petitioner, to have a building 21.8 feet from Moore Street, 7.2 feet from 132nd Avenue, and a setback of 5.6 inches from the, eastern property line for an already existing building.
I need to make a minor correction. It's feet, not inches. It's 5.6 feet from the eastern property line, not 5.6 inches.
What is it?
Feet, not inches. Somehow or another, when I was creating the legal advertisement for this one, I wrote 5.6 inches instead of 5.6 feet.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So it is a much greater setback than what is on your paper.
Sure, understood. Legal's in order?
Yes, and just to clarify, right, even with the inch to feet difference, you're going from that much to that much, not a problem. If you're going from that much to that much, that'd be a problem.
Okay. Sounds good. Name and address, please.
Ryan Kubel, 7600 West 136th Court, Cedar Lake.
State, your request.
The request is basically, I'm dividing the parking lot that we have, the old laundromat parking lot. A few years ago, under me and Tim Kubek advised me to put a split rail fence up because we had a lot of people driving through there and it was unsafe. Anyway, at this point, I really don't need a parking lot that big for the building the size it is. So I decided to subdivide, and we use the bottom half for excess parking for a shopping center, and the other parking lot will be sufficient for the building. So that's basically what I want to do. Just split up the parking lot, basically. There's already, if you go by there, there's already a split rail fence, it's already been done, but I want to officially split it up, so.
Mr. Kubel was before the Plan Commission last week, and we went over all of this, and I feel it's a good idea. He's wants to use that existing parking lot, keep it as a parking lot, to provide parking for that mall there, for Sammy's and the exercise place and what have you. And then the building that sits north of that, I think that's north, he wants to sell. And it has enough parking there for a business for the size of the building. If it's any other type of business, of course, they would have to come in before us to get a variance on it. But the Planning Commission felt it was a good idea to do what he's doing. He wants to subdivide it into an outlot and a one lot subdivision there. If you have a seat for a minute, I'll call for remonstrators. Sure. Are there any remonstrators for or against this request?
Jerry Wilkeny, 10826 West 131st Avenue. Mr. President, as you said, this has been discussed, and this is perfect for exactly what it's going to be used for. The subdividing it cleans up a lot of property over there, so I'm going to say it's a good idea.
You must sit on the Plan Commission.
Well, I don't read this on Facebook.
But you could.
Thanks, Sheriff.
Maybe.
Any other remonstrators for or against? Anybody online?
No one online for this petition and nothing received.
Okay, public comment is closed. Building Department, you got any comments?
We don't. These are already existing uses on both the lots, but because he's going through the subdivision process, updating it into a one-lot subdivision with an outlot for the park to split them up, because they're legal non-conforming uses, anytime you go through and make something updated, modern, new, you gotta either bring the uses into conformance or go for the variances. Mr. Kubel has gone for the variances for these. Your first one, the parking lot in the B2 zoning district is a use variance, and that would be a recommendation to the town council. The second one for the building is a board decision.
Go ahead. Any more discussion on either one of these? If not, we'll take the variance, use variance first. I'll need a motion for either a favorable or unfavorable to the town council.
I'll make a favorable variance, a favorable motion, am I presenting that right?
Yeah.
Favorable recommendation to the variance of use to allow the petitioner to have a parking lot in a B2 zoning district continuing the already existing use of the lot.
First, finding the fact.
To the findings of the fact.
Motion by Mr. Burnham, and I have a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Riley. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Mr. Caparo?
Yes. Motion carried to send it favorable to the town council. Now, on the second part of this is the developmental variance to allow the petitioner to have a building 21.3 feet from Moore Street, 11.2 feet from 132nd Avenue, and a setback of 5.6 feet from the eastern property line for an already existing building. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion for approval of this variance to the findings of fact.
Motion made by Mr. Burnham, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Riley, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Mr. Caparo?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I have one question, Mr. President.
You got a question?
The parking lot, is it gravel or?
It's
It's
paved.
asphalt.
It's asphalt.
It is asphalt.
Yeah, it, most of it already is.
Number 6, developmental variance, store safe. Owner petitioner, Store Safe of Cedar Lake LLC, 5301 Dempster Street, Suite 300, Skokie, Illinois, 60077. Vicinity of 13649 Wicker Avenue, Cedar Lake, Indiana, 46303.
We're gonna need to flip your pages.
This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to use gravel for parking in the rear of the property, to continue to have parking along the property lines, and to have waivers from the lighting requirements in the gravel area of the property, and screening along the northern and western boundary lines as currently existing on the property. Are legals in order?
They are.
State your name and address, please.
Yes, Russ Posen, 1155 Troutline Road, Crown Point, Indiana, where the with DVG, I'm the civil engineer representing the owner. Unfortunately, the owner couldn't be here, he has a death in the family,
He
but
is
he is online.
Yep, he's on Zoom.
He's online, and I think hopefully we can unmute him if he has to jump in and have a conversation, I'm sure he will. Are you available to talk, Jim, please?
I am available if needed.
Great, thank you. So yeah, this is a nice piece of property. This Store Safe has been, I think, to Plan Commission, I think for study session, I think it was last month, very favorable to, I think, the town. And the reason for the variances is it's very interesting on this property because it's an existing use that is non-conforming, but when we come in for the Phase 1 building that we're going to be doing, and we have to subdivide the property, a lot of these requirements kick in. The zoning adjacent to this property is, I would say, peculiar for what the future comp plan states. The northern large portion of the property, north of us, this portion that's the future phase, we'll call it, is currently zoned R2. It's very heavily wooded. We have an existing chain link fence on our property, but the comp plan shows when that does get developed, probably business. But currently, so the current zoning north of our Phase 1 is currently zoned B1, or B2, I believe, B1, but there is a home there right now. So what we're trying to do here is obviously not put a opaque fence on the north portion of this existing property. The opaque fence, wood or PVC won't be as sturdy as what the chain link fence will be. But what we are offering is to put fencing, cover, either, evergreens or very dense shrubbery, or very dense evergreen and fence, or vice versa, along the northern part of the Phase 1 to shield from the residential development that currently there's, to kind of offer a trade. The other variances, I think, are requested and warranted just because we are not developing that portion yet. In the future phase, when he does develop that, and it comes before you for site development, certain things will be brought to code. We'll pave it, put new buildings, new storage buildings, so if you would like to do all that development at that time, that kind of is a request for the non-lighting, is the similar situation. When Phase 2 comes along, they'll upgrade that to the town standards. Before I go to any further, Jim, do you need anything to add to this?
I'll just thank Ashley for, figuring out how to accommodate me. Life kind of threw a curveball at me, so I'm out in suburban Maryland instead of being there tonight. I apologize for that. I'll only say that, you know, in the orderly development of phase two, I'll tell you what I told Rick.
I don't know if we lost him.
We lost him.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yep, we lost him.
He did tell the plan commission that, phase two, they're hoping, depending on how well business goes, to start within 18 months to 2 years. And then whatever they plan for phase two is gonna be kind of market-driven based off of what the market needs are at the time, whether it's going to be another climate-controlled storage building or whether it's going to be more similar style buildings that are already there on the property. They're gonna kind of do a market analysis and see what the market is looking for at that time.
Well, they came in originally with,
Yeah, they're gonna
climate
come in.
control.
Yeah,
That's phase one building.
the phase one that's gonna happen up front, that's gonna be a climate-controlled building. And then whatever they do for phase two is gonna
Well,
be.
phase two is the back.
Yep, phase two's the back, and that's gonna be what's driven by market analysis and
Sure.
what's being asked for.
So, but the only thing that we're approving on is the front?
So they're asking, because similar to the last petition, because it's an existing property, existing use, the first buildings were actually built in 1987, prior to ordinance 496, with parking on the outside and the gravel and all that. What they're asking to do is continue the existing, keeping the back as existing, waivers from screening on this boundary here and this boundary up here. And then when they come in for phase two is when they will work on bringing this portion up to standards, but they're likely gonna want the waivers of the screening to remain, I'm assuming.
So you wanna rent that property without paving it?
It is currently being used for storage and as is right now, so if he's going to make any updates later, he'll come in for site plan development.
Is it used, I mean, is the gravel area used
Yes.
now for storage?
Yes, for storage of, I'm not sure if there's boats there or RVs, can't remember.
So if we don't approve it, it's gonna continue being a gravel.
It's not gonna change, yeah.
It's not gonna change, it's gonna stay the same. We approve it, then eventually it's gonna be
Eventually,
paved and
that
taken care of.
second phase will have to come up to standards.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh,
Correct, because it's a non-platted, lot right now, we have to plat a subdivision, and then these were some of these, codes kick in for the entire property.
Okay. All right, my question is, the trees on the northern border, whose property is that on?
That is the undeveloped portion. or
Okay,
the-
so what happens if they cut all those trees down?
Well, is it your property?
There goes your buffer zone.
Do they own that?
That's not your property though,
Not our
right?
property, yeah, the trees on the north is not our property. No, we have a fence on our property, a chain link fence.
And you're asking to waiver anything and just leave the existing trees there as the buffer zone, correct?
Currently, yes.
Yeah, and then my question was, what happens if the other owner cuts these trees down? There goes your buffer zone.
Correct, but
I don't know if you can hear me again, I tried relocating here.
we're good.
Okay, so, you know, my experience developing self-storage all over the country in similar situations like this, you know, I've had to put, you know, small amounts of landscaping and screening in, you know, in Florida against something that looks like the Everglades, and then you're sitting there looking at your tiny plants, you know, right from your neighbor has, you know, giant jungles. And in this case, the only thing I would say in my experience is the neighbor typically meets the landscape requirement and buffer by keeping those plants. So I can't foresee a scenario, where it would not be to our neighbor's advantage to maintain a buffer, and if God already did the landscaping there for them, and there's mature plants there, it's hard for me to imagine, practically speaking, that those trees are going to get cut down. And what I cut out before, I just wanted to say that, you know, anytime StoreSafe develops, storage, we are not going to leave gravel at that point. There's not a development we have It's just not, you know, not what we do in terms of our quality standards when we develop storage. At that point, you know, our own development standards would have us, you know, add asphalt at that time.
The gravel storage areas, seeing how this has changed hands, we've had a similar situation with storage in town here, and they have to pave. I am not gonna recommend to this board to waiver the paving until a later date. So the gravelled areas, if you're gonna use it for storage, needs to be paved. It's my comment on that.
I don't think maybe at a two-lot subdivision, won't that one subdivision, relieve the other subdivision?
Well, it's still changed hands, you're still using storage on it, I don't care if it's 3 lots, if you're storing boats, what I'm saying is if you're storing anything on the gravelled section, the town requires pave. It's changed hands, it's not grandfathered in, but with this owner, the old owner had it there for years, but, and we made one, storage area in town here that had all gravel.
And they eventually had to get fixed, they had a time frame.
They had a time frame. They had to, and they couldn't store anything on the gravel. They could only store on the asphalt, so, you know, that's my comment on that. I mean, what we did for one, we do for the other one, so. Works, you know, works hand in hand. I'd like you to take a seat for a minute, I'll call for remonstrators, please. Are there any remonstrators for or against this request?
You talking about phase 1 or phase 2?
Doesn't matter.
The whole project.
My name is Scott McVeigh at 13647 Wicker Avenue in Cedar Lake. I'm the owner of the house just where they're gonna maybe put in that, interior storage. I didn't know if it's gonna affect the drainage, if there's gonna be a retention pond put in, so we don't, because I think that lot might be a tiny bit higher than us if it's gonna come down into my property.
They're gonna have to go through a site plan for that, which will be engineered to ensure that you're not getting any drainage problems on your property.
And one other issue, I don't know why it's like that, but my well sits on their property. I don't know what happens with that.
Charge your rent.
All I can say is, well,
You cut your trees down, you might lose your well.
What's that?
You cut your trees down for a buffer zone, you might lose your well.
Those trees are all yours, aren't they?
No, I'm talking
it's just
about.
the house.
Oh, you're just a house?
He's the light blue property here.
I would
Yes.
think that was something you'd have to take up with the present owners about your well, because there's nothing we can do about that.
The present owners, meaning SourceSafe?
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah,
If it's on their property, you have to discuss.
yeah.
All right,
I'm sure there's a reasonable answer to that, you know, so,
okay,
okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry Wilkening, 10826 West 131st Avenue. There was a lot of discussion at the Planning Commission. However, the future is not a word we should be working with. And we know what we did at Cedar Lake Storage that wasn't built in 1987 or 1978. It was way older than that. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. Any other remonstrators for or against? Anybody online? Ashley?
No.
Nothing?
Okay.
Okay, public comment is closed. What does the building department have to say about this?
Our only comment is any decision made by the board, we would like a contingency to be done, to be made that whatever they do is approved by the plan commission with their site plan approval. That way, we make sure that any variances that are approved, if any portion thereof is approved, that everything that they do with that variance, they have to follow their plan commission site plan that is approved.
So whatever whatever may be approved has to be contingent upon approval by the,
Approval of the site plan by the plan commission, which will be coming, if I remember correctly, Russ, correct me if I'm wrong, will be next month with final plat, or roughly there around.
Roughly then.
Have you seen this?
Yeah, they'll be seeing
Yeah.
site plan at
You
plan
have?
commission.
yeah, we've seen this already.
What restrictions did you guys recommend?
They haven't gotten site plan yet. They're seeing preliminary plat next week, at their, public hearing meeting. They will be seeing the site plan with the final plat.
We just saw them
The
at
concept.
the work session.
Yeah, concept plan is,
And they brought in a concept plan, that's why I knew it was gonna be, he brought in a controlled environment storage for that front section. But he did not mention anything about, you know,
What's behind
leaving the
it.
gravel and that sort of thing. Here again, you know, if he's gonna store on anything, it has to be paved.
And they're storing on it.
Well, it's existing, whoever owned it before them
Yeah,
did
it's-
that.
Correct.
What is the time frame of phase two? You're gonna wait and see what happens in the front, and then if your business is good, then you'll go do phase two?
I think,
That's correct. And it's not just a matter of, you know, of if, it's a matter of what, you know, we have to study the market and understand what the market wants and what we want to build. What we know today is the site, can be made a lot more beautiful and service the public a lot better with a modern state-of-the-art climate-controlled building. We'll see how absorption, is for that, and also, you know, we're building, you know, larger size units with an average unit size of 111 square feet. You know, we would want the benefit of understanding, you know, what the public wants for the back. And, you know, it would be financially very onerous on us, to require us today for, you know, kind of the ad hoc truck parking and boat parking mishmash that's back there to, you know, kick all of those people off and be compelled to pave that today when we don't know what we want to build yet back there. It would also kick in, you know, presumably a lot more stormwater detention than a phased detention plan, only building the front building today. So, you know, I would ask for, you know, your indulgence here, because we will be coming back in, to get those buildings approved at that time. And, you know, DVG will do further civil engineering to accommodate more impervious surface back there. It would be going out of order for us to, you know, put a bunch of asphalt down when our intention is to, you know, eventually scrap all of that mishmash of parking back there and add, you know, most likely, in our mind's eye, something like 4 12,000 square foot buildings in an orderly fashion. So, that's all I'll ask of the board tonight.
Where he says parking along the fence, is that gravelled area there too?
yes.
Depends on the area,
Where the buildings are is asphalt.
but then as you get further back, it
That's
gets into
gravel.
the asphalt gravel area that's there.
Well, here, let me rephrase that. No, he doesn't have to go in and pave the gravel areas.
So
If
they-
they're not, can't park on them. Can't store anything on them. If he wants to store or park something on them, they have to be paved. If they're gravel, he cannot use them. Based on past experiences or variances in that we went over, in this town in the past year or two. Any other discussion?
Why don't you wanna put the lights up?
Oh, yeah.
That was also part of why, in talking with their
Whether
civil,
it's gravel or paved, why wouldn't you wanna put the lights up?
in talking with Jack Coles, the civil engineer who was with the plan commission, the reasoning for it was because without knowing what they wanna do with phase two, they don't wanna take running the electric out there to put in the light poles to then potentially have to
Move them.
move them or worry about hitting those electric lines.
the location and the size and the, you know, quantity of self-storage buildings is, you know, again, like Jim said, it'll be per the market. So we don't know which shape, which rotation, where we're gonna have, you know, future drive aisles. So to put any underground, like she says, is not ideal. It's,
Is there lighting back there now?
I don't think there's lighting back there now.
Well,
There's wall packs on the buildings, I believe.
we need lighting back there. So.
Let me just make the clarification, though, that in all, in the middle section, wherever there is, storage being used today, we will make sure that all areas, not only are asphalt, but that the asphalt that's there, is in good condition. So even the middle section that has, asphalt to agree, we are absolutely agreeing to, either adding asphalt or, resurfacing, remilling the asphalt there, so that the areas that do have storage today all have asphalt and proper lighting. So all I would ask, if this is the will of the other members of DDA here, is please draft this in a way, that, if we go ahead and remove anyone from using that area, that we are relieved from having to put asphalt or lighting there until such time as we resume approved use of that area, for storage. Because what I really don't want to do is be put in a position to have to put asphalt down and lighting down, or what really, for us in our business model, is really a temporary use. We've inherited a bunch of people parking back there. They help us carry the property for now. Nice to have them, but it's certainly not worth incurring the cost of asphalt and lighting to retain them. So I'd only ask that the recommendation, the plan commission, if that's the direction you go, be worded in such a way to give us that flexibility.
If we grant them that, then is there a length of time?
Jim, how long do you guys anticipate between phase 1 and phase 2?
I would like to have 2 years. Just bear in mind that the process to even develop phase 1, when you go through completing this process, designing plans, submitting for building permits, receiving a building permit, building the building, filling up the building, is about, a 2-year process, as long as, so I wouldn't mind having that amount of time to come in for, somewhere within that time frame, we'll come in for additional approvals in the next phase.
As I recall, phase 2, it's pretty haphazard parking back there right now. It's park it here, park it there, park it.
Correct,
It's all over the place.
Like it's shown.
Yeah.
So that-
I mean, that's part of it they don't even use.
But
Yeah,
you guys have set the example with the other storage unit.
Yeah, there was.
Because he had the paving, he had a time limit, and he was unable to use the gravel area, correct?
Currently, he's able to use that.
With their prior use?
He was not allowed
No,
to use the gravel area for storage. He went ahead and used it for storage.
Yes.
He was cited and fined, and he came in, and we allowed him to maintain the vehicles where they were stored on the gravel. Now, he could leave them there with the understanding that he had to have everything paved by, and is he paving now?
June 15th, and I have that as our update item today.
Okay.
Well, that's what-
But we did not allow him to park on that. He went ahead and did it.
No, that's what I'm
And then
saying,
we
you
caught-
didn't allow
he
him,
was
he got
caught.
fined for
He was
doing it.
caught doing it.
Right, exactly.
Right, I was gonna get into that.
This gentleman is doing, he asked you before that, he gets
Correct.
caught, and he already has existing, so
Well, the
how
other
are
guy
we
do
gonna
it too.
maintain who comes and goes, and who's new and who's old? I don't see that happening. So I don't agree with that.
That's what.
But also, you know, to have, if we say, okay, the existing people that are there, fine, but how are we gonna govern that, or, you know, view that? I'm not gonna go there and count cars, that's not gonna happen, so how are we gonna come to arrangement to know what cars that we're giving these X amount of people, and then how much time are we gonna give them to pave it all? I understand why he wants them there, it's money, it's revenue, and then he wants to see how busy it's gonna be, so when he builds this climate control one in the front, he wants to see how much money he has. I mean, it's development. I mean, I get that part of it. It just, I don't know how we're gonna go about monitoring it.
Jim,
Well, if I may,
go for it, Jim.
if I may ask a question, Ashley, did this site use this illegally as a, you know, perhaps a nuance from the other situation that you're dealing with? I mean, the cars that are parked there, the way this came into existence, did previous owners of the chain of title do anything wrong having people park back there?
As far as I can go back in aerials from when it started to today, there's always been outdoor storage parking around the entire facility. In the storage facility, the first buildings were built in 1987 prior to 496, so it would be a legal non-conforming use by 496. When we updated 1402, continued legal non-conforming use.
So that's part one of my point, there's a difference between somebody being a scofflaw and thumbing their nose at current ordinance versus a continuation of an existing nonconformity. The second thing that I would be more than willing to agree to is, we don't have to rent these to anyone new. We have, you know, all of these people in SiteLink. The existing customers that are there, we know who they are. This is not a fly-by-night operation. You know, StorSafe is one of the, you know, fastest growing storage companies in the U.S. We're in 6 states, predominantly very, very much in northwest Indiana, throughout northwest Indiana. And we are more than happy to supply the name of the customers that we have as of the date of approval, and have that be the only customers that are permitted to be there.
Any other comments?
Those vehicles are gonna be parked there, whether we approve it or not, there's still gonna be storage back there.
No, there can't be. If we don't approve it, then they can't park back there.
They're already parked there.
They gotta move. I mean, let's face it, just because they want doesn't mean we have to give. Plain and simple.
Would you guys consider it a time frame? Or no time frame?
I do not want to see any parking on the gravel areas per our ordinances. We held the other guy's toes to the fire over that, and there's no reason why we shouldn't hold this gentleman's toes to the fire. If he wants to park where the gravel area is, he needs to pave it and put lighting up there. If he doesn't want to do that, then he cannot store anything on the gravel areas. My comments. Now, there's 4 other guys sitting here, and they can change those comments.
I don't
They have their
understand
own
though,
comments.
if we don't approve it, those vehicles are still gonna be parked there.
No, they'll have to move them.
They'll have to get rid of them.
Yeah, if we do not allow this, all those vehicles in that back gravel area have to be moved. Per ordinance.
On kind of being a new owner.
And it's a new plan.
If it becomes a subdivision and we proceed with the subdivision planning
Right.
and the site development, only if we proceed with that.
Right.
The ownership change doesn't make the legal non-conforming go away. It's ownership change, if it's like for like, it's still legal non-conforming. Our zoning ordinance doesn't say it's ownership change, the legal non-conforming use doesn't stop. The only way it stops is if, they bring it to conformance, in this case, taking a meets and bounds to a one-lot subdivision. They have to either make everything conforming with the zoning ordinance or seek the variances, or, if the use were to stop for 6 months, then it would lose all nonconformity.
Mr. Chairman, I got a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
I don't want to stray too far, and I also want to be careful with the implications of the legal terms. Number one, how do we know this is a legal non-conforming?
Based on the fact that the original buildings were built in 1987, prior to ordinance 496. There were permits pulled back in 1987, going all the way back to there. This is an aerial from 1998. This is the furthest back aerials that I have.
Okay, so let's assume that. So what part of that is legal non-conforming?
496 wasn't adopted until 1989, which this business started prior to.
Okay, the business of what?
Storage.
Storage.
It was
Right?
storage,
Not specific to parking cars, but storage.
storage on the property, outdoor or indoor.
Okay, so what part of that is legal non-conforming then?
The parking on the outdoor end is, I can't tell if it's all paved or not, but part of that looks like dirt, maybe?
So what you're saying is the ordinance back in the 80s or whatever required the paving component?
I don't know what was required prior to 496. I can't say 100%. Not without
What
pulling
was-
up that original,
What was permitted in that zoning district classification back then?
what is on here today.
So
Is
was
what's on-
outdoor parking permitted back in the 80s? And that's why I want to be careful with this whole legal non-conforming thing. Is it the use of it as a storage facility? Or was it the fact that the prior owner just parked a bunch of cars back there and everybody just let it go? Because the latter of those two is not a legal non-conforming use, right? Just because someone else violated what the code required does not make it a legal non-conforming use. A legal non-conforming use would be if there was a house there and it was, previously residential or country, and then they zoned it commercial, and there's still a house there, right? That's a legal non-conforming use, or vice versa, right? Just because somebody else parked a bunch of stuff back there doesn't then mean that the ownership changes throughout the years since the 80s makes that a permissible use for you guys, to necessarily impact your opinion.
I would have to check the ordinance prior to 496,
Yeah, I mean, that's-
and I don't have that one.
That's the point, is
memorized.
we're talking about something that dates back to when I was 1 year old. So, I don't know what the heck happened. I'm not sure Ashley does or you guys do, right? To necessarily sit up here and say with any degree of certainty that this is a legal non-conforming use. It is a use that has existed. Whether it's legal, that's anybody's guess right now.
Well, I'm not saying it's legal non-conforming.
I understand, I just wanna make sure that Ashley was kinda going down that path, and maybe that ferrets itself out, but I don't wanna sit here and call it a legal non-conforming use without somebody knowing with any degree of certainty that it actually was a legal non-conforming use.
All right, I don't think we're considering that at all. But, here, tell me if I'm wrong. Our ordinance state that if you're gonna store something outside in these storage facilities, they have to be on pavement, whether it be concrete or asphalt.
So I understand, is that correct, Ashley?
We require all off-street parking spaces to be blacktop or concrete or surfaced with smooth and durable compatible surface materials so that they will remain free of dust or litter particles and be adequately drained so that they will not retain water.
So stone does not qualify, because it retains water.
Okay, so that's all I'm saying is that the gravel does not conform to, does not meet our standards, our ordinance standards. Now, when we get to lighting, if we're storing things back there, does the area have to be lit?
Except for single-family and two-family residential lots, adequate lighting shall be provided for use when a parking area is in operation. All lighting shall be arranged so that no source of light shall be directly visible beyond the parking lot upon which lighting is located, and all lighting structures shall conform to the provisions of the zoning ordinance as amended from time to time.
So I would say that yes to your
Yes,
answer.
according to that language, any area that's off-street parking with the exception of a single-family or two-family residence requires lighting for parking.
Okay, so the two main items that I'm putting forth here is that it needs to be no gravel for parking,
Needs to be paved.
and if there's parking in an area, there needs to be some lighting for that area. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yeah, and that's why they're here, right?
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
they're looking for relief from that.
Right, and I'm saying I'm not willing to do that. Now, they're also asking for, relief on the,
Opaque fence.
pardon?
On an opaque fence on the north property,
Where all the woods is,
where the existing woods are.
yeah, in the west area,
The west area is not required because it's current, the residence, that gentleman did come up.
Right.
That is zoned B2. So that is zoned a business, commercial use. So there is no requirement for fencing or for shrubs. However, my client will be providing screening, a fence and,
along the north.
around the northern portion of the existing residence, which is
Okay.
currently zoned business, which is
East
climate
side,
control.
It's a new phone, I just got it today.
So that is the, kind of as a,
Screening.
Screening.
give and take, if you will. You know, the existing wooded area, yes, it's zoned residential. I mean, we definitely feel, that in the comp plan, it's gonna be, if it gets developed, it'll be zoned commercial. So then an opaque fence would not be required in the future. So that is why we are requesting that. But currently, we are not required to do a fence or a screening on the western portion that I show here, but we're gonna provide it anyway to assist and, you know, be good neighbors to the current residents.
John, we're allowed to choose and pick what we want to approve and what we don't want to approve, correct?
Sure,
In that
we just, have to state in a motion what we're
Exactly
doing.
what we're
Yeah,
doing.
to be a motion to approve X, Y, and Z, and a motion to deny
Yeah.
A, B, and C.
So-
Fair enough.
I just
so-
kind of backwards, but.
The way I see it, we're okay with
The fence.
the fencing, the boundary, the north and the west boundary. That he's requesting in the requester, we're okay with that.
Yeah.
And we're not okay with parking on, will you shoot that horse?
It's brand new, I just got it today.
It'll be all right.
I don't know how to cut it off.
Set it down, I got
It's the wake us up. I don't have any more to say.
$1,000 well spent, Jim.
Yeah.
And 36 payments or whatever. I get what you're saying.
Okay, so it's the parking on the gravelled areas we're against, and
Lighting.
if you're parking in an area, you need lighting.
Correct.
Is that
I have
everybody?
a question for clarification.
Yes.
The existing buildings that is in that area is paved, again, like Jim said, he'll be resurfacing that and make it asphalt. What your statement is if it is currently gravel, and if it stays gravel, no storage can be on it,
Correct.
and no lighting is required? That is what your comment is, your statement.
If you're not gonna be back there working or what have you, I don't see why we need.
Yeah, that's right, the ordinance doesn't require you to light up an area you're not using.
Yeah.
The requirement comes in if you're using it for storage, which then goes hand in hand
And
with
it'll
the
read that
the
when you
pavement.
do the, when I,
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way.
I just wanna clarify, that's my
That's the way
understanding
you
of what you're
understand
saying.
it?
So if you want a good if-then, Russ,
Mhm.
if parking, then pavement, then lighting.
Then lighting, okay. Jim, do you understand that?
I do, but I also feel that the issues that were raised about legal nonconformity or non-legal, conformity are important and material. I'm very happy with, phrasing the language in a way that if it's used, we need to comply with those things, if it's not used, not. But I feel glossing over, whether this is legally non-conforming or not is important. And I wouldn't even mind tabling this for another meeting to have Mr. Austin or, our team to be able to do a little research on that. Because I do think there's a big difference between somebody thumbing their nose at the laws and ordinances of Cedar Lake, in which case absolutely you should throw the book at them, and our situation, which is, we may have bought something that would allow us to do this for a period of time. And then obviously our goal is to bring the whole entire site into compliance. You can see what we're trying to do. You can see the quality of investment we're making in the property. So I am concerned with making any, motion tonight onto that, without understanding, the legal aspect of, that parking right to exist. Totally understanding that if this were developed today, you would have to have lighting and you would have to have asphalt. But that being said, I'm just the applicant, so, the board obviously can do as it will. I'm just saying that, if it were me, I would kind of want to understand, that dimension to this, application.
And Jim, we can actually formally request, this be tabled if you would like.
Deferred.
Deferred.
Yeah, you have to request that.
Yes. Jim, would you like me to do that?
Mr. Posen, do you have an opinion here?
I think it is a good point to request to this to get deferred, to research the legal non-conforming, just to cover our bases.
I'm not arguing legal non-conforming, so I don't even know why that terminology is here.
Mhm.
I made that perfectly clear. We're not saying it's legal and non-conforming. So, let's don't bring that in with 6 lawyers or something saying, hey, because all we're saying is if you're gonna park it on the gravel, it's gotta be paved. If you're parking it someplace and there's no lights, put lights in. That's all we're saying, not legal non-conforming. So you're requesting a deferral till next month?
Jim, would you like that?
I would, with all due respect, very respectfully, because, I just want to make sure that, I'm doing right by, my stakeholders here and looking into that issue. And, we might very well end up in the exact same place next month and have a very short, a very short appearance next month where, nothing was learned, no circumstances changed. But I feel like, I owe it to, our stakeholders, and the town, frankly, to understand, the legal dimension of this, whether, that parking back there doesn't have the right to exist exempt from these requirements. So I'd rather table it even.
We are we're formally requesting a deferral, please.
Till next month.
Till next month.
All right, I have a request for deferral till next month by the petitioner. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion for defer to next month.
I second it.
Motion by Mr. Burnham, second by Mr. Hunley. Roll call, please.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Mr. Caparo?
Yes, motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Brian, would you mention to Dave to look into that legal non-conforming on this for us?
We'll talk about it.
Sure, thank
I'll
you.
do some digging into the ordinance pre-493.
Yeah, we need to do clarification on that too.
Absolutely. I will have it in your staff report for next month.
I don't want to be stepping in any mud where there's no paving, so let's go
What
ahead.
about gravel? You can step on gravel where there's no pavement.
Moving on.
Moving on, okay, number 7. Trudeau, owner petitioner David L. Trudeau, 13023 Polk Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. City of 13023 Polk Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to rebuild a deck 25 feet from the property line.
Yes, sir.
Hi.
Trudeau, 13023 Polk Street.
Okay, our legal's in order there,
I
right?
think Mr. Trudeau's got a request first before we get to that.
Okay. Do you have a request?
Yeah, requesting to put a new replacement deck on the front of my
Excuse
house.
me. Are you wanting to move forward tonight, sir?
Yes.
Okay, then we can't, because the legals are not in order. There is no proof of service upon the neighboring property owners, nor do I have a proof of publication.
Did you get my email, Mr. Trudeau?
No.
Okay. I didn't receive anything back, so it's possible that it got sent to spam. My emails have been sent to somebody's spam before. I can take care of the legal notifications for next month.
So you're gonna wanna continue it.
Okay.
to now, so.
Well, do we have to continue, or we just?
Yeah, we don't have proof that anybody's been notified.
No, I mean, do we have to make a motion, or would you just?
I mean, I think he would wanna ask for the matter to be continued to
Okay.
next month, so we don't have to
Continue
remove it.
for next month.
I'll make a motion for you to do that.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burnham to continue this or defer this till next month, seconded by Mr. Hunley. Roll call, please.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Mr. Capura?
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Check with Ashley before next meeting, so you know you got everything.
Yeah, so you can get your ducks in order,
I'll do that.
okay?
Number 8, developmental variance, Spar. Owner petitioner, John Spar the Fourth, 13220 Fairbanks Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Vicinity of 13220 Fairbanks Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. The developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to build a post-frame building of 2,400 square feet with a wall height of 14 feet 8 inches and an overall height of 16 feet 8 inches. Legals in order?
This petitioner is requesting a withdrawal.
Okay, we do nothing with that then, right?
And it's been withdrawn.
Okay.
That was a quick
You read all that?
Just testing your reading skills.
He was just practicing, don't worry about it.
testing my eyesight. Number 9, Camus, developmental variance, owner petitioner Richard Camus Jr., 13132 Lindbergh Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana, vicinity of 13132 Lindbergh Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. This developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to construct a 6-foot privacy fence on the property line of his corner lot, replacing the existing fence. Are legals in order?
They're not, we cannot proceed. The town zoning ordinance requires publication to occur within 10 days or more prior to the hearing. The proof of publication we have is from April 9th, which was 2 days ago.
That's why, they had asked you if everything was in order.
I looked,
Didn't respond.
I didn't look, my apologies, sir. I had a lot of people here in front of me before, when you called and talked and I asked for all that to be sent over. I printed it out and looked at it after 5 o'clock.
Can I just do a publication, or do I have to do all?
So you have to renotice certified then publication to let everyone know if you're asking.
Everybody again?
Correct, because what you would need to do is to continue this to next month's hearing, and then notify everybody of the public hearing then.
So you want a deferral to next month, correct? Let's
Yeah.
put a motion out for it, sir. Okay, they need a motion to defer to next month.
I'll make the motion to defer to next month.
Motion by Mr. Burnham,
Second.
second by Mr. Riley. Roll call, please.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Mr. Capura?
Yes, motion carries 5-0.
I'll give you a call in the morning, Mr. Cannon.
I know I know what to do now.
Thank you. Number 10, Austin, developmental variance, David Austin, 14326 Lakeshore Drive, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Petitioner Theodore Roan, 13177 Broad Street, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Vicinity of 14326 Lakeshore Drive, Cedar Lake, Indiana. Developmental variance is to allow the petitioner to build an addition onto the existing house, increasing lot coverage to 30%.
They are requesting a deferral. They got additional information after they filed the initial petition and will be re-advertising for next month. You have a formal written request in your meeting iPad.
So do I need to just make a motion?
Deferral for May 9th.
So we don't have to do nothing?
No, just like the others, you would make a motion to defer.
I'll make a motion to defer.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Burnham, seconded by Mr. Riley to defer to next month. Roll call, please.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Hunley?
Yes.
Mr. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Burnham?
Yes.
Mr. Capura?
Yes. Motion carries 5-0.
Updates?
Update.
Update, Cedar Lake Storage LLC, Phase 2 update.
So, similar to my update to the Plan Commission, the Porter Brothers have still been providing me the required pictures that was stated by the BZA. My most recent communication with them is they are currently working with the excavator to have all the storm drains installed, along with the grading of the lot for the approved engineering site plan. They have reached out to Five Services and are asking them to have them on the, paving schedule for the first week of June. Their stuff expires on June 15th.
What's their drop dead date?
June 15th.
June 15th?
June 15th.
They have to have it done by June 15th?
That was the motion by the plan commission.
And they're scheduled for June 1st?
They requested to be in the first week of June. It's gonna be tight.
Well, if they get the first week of June, they'll be paved in a day, if they're.
If they're on there.
If they're on there.
Well, I guess we'll leave that to enforcer.
Yeah.
I will keep
We'll know by
up
June
with
5th
them
or
and
10th or whatever.
I will keep up with them and try and have another update for you guys next month.
Okay, public comment.
Sit down, Jerry.
Yeah, we know your name and address. Tell us anyway.
Jerry Wilkie, 10826 West 131st Avenue. I had two questions. Did I just understand that Mr. Camus had his stuff in on time, but it didn't get processed from in here on time?
It got processed.
He didn't publish in time.
He didn't publish.
His publication was 2 days ago.
Okay, all right. So you didn't get ahead of it?
He didn't get it off to the publisher
Get
in
it off
time.
to the publisher. I got it. Oh no, put that other picture back.
You want near maps back up? Okay, hold on, I'm gonna have to sign back in.
What was the price per square foot of blacktop that we had, the assurance from the Cedar Lake storage owners?
That one's changed a few times.
Yeah, but I meant, there was an assurance provided
There was.
for
We have
this part that they got to use, the very end of everything.
Right, there's the private letter of credit, which before they did an increase was 110 and some change
Okay,
thousand
but for
dollars.
this last part of this, we have a
And
bond, we have a bond for that, right?
Yes, we have a private letter of
Okay.
credit for phase two, and then we had them increase it in case we have to tow
Okay.
anything. We have that availability, that
Okay,
assurity.
now let's go to the storage on 41. I would really like our town engineer to just take a glance at this and give us an estimation on what it would cost to blacktop all that. I'm not sure there's any stormwater there. To the bottom of the outdoor storage, where that road comes in and seems a dead end, that was a retention pond that was put in there, made out of gravel. And I know what it is because I was on the stormwater board at the time. So there's stormwater engineering that needs to be done, there's blacktopping engineering that needs to be done, and perhaps we need an assurance that that's gonna happen in a certain period of time.
Well,
That'll go through.
we still gotta see them again, you know, and I'm not happy with everything that's happening with
Yeah,
that.
well, the guy on overheads used the word, what did he say, glassing over, but nobody's talked about stormwater. Can you imagine what that's gonna cost there?
Well, again, aren't you going to look at it?
That'd be on the plan commission.
That's
not us.
that's gonna come up in front of you,
Well, that's
not in front of Board of Zoning.
That'd be on his site plan and all that stuff.
I understand, but
His site plan is going to have to be engineered to
Which
current
we're all
standards,
doing the same
including
thing.
stormwater.
At the plan commission.
Correct.
I mean, it is what it is,
That's my
you know.
Well, we're not gonna be stonewalled on this.
Well, the timeline is
Enough,
assured.
you guys know what's going on,
Yeah.
so that's good.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments? Terry, last chance.
Good night, Eric.
No other comments?
Let's go.
We're adjourned.